We want to get, everybody wants to get kids back to school because it's so important that we get them back learning again. But we've got to do it in a safe way. And so we're working very carefully with our state superintendent of schools and our local school boards and getting lots of input from our public health doctors and our scientists, along with our teachers and parents, and just we're going to come up with a plan that's probably going to be some kind of a hybrid that makes sure that we get our kids educated and back to school, but in a very safe way.
How do you make sure that the private schools don't have an advantage versus the public schools and all of the different types of towns and communities that might have different coronavirus rates? How do you make sure it's fair for every student?
Well, we want to make sure that all our kids are safe, regardless of whether they're going to a private school or whether they're going to a public school, and regardless of which community they're in. We're giving some flexibility to local jurisdictions who may be in different positions from one jurisdiction to another. But overall, our state, knock on wood, so far is doing much better than most other places around the country. We've got declining rates, declining positivity rate, declining hospitalization, declining deaths, declining ICU beds. So we're keeping a close eye on it, and we're by no means out of the woods on this thing. But we're going to be very careful to make sure we do it right. And our kids, I know parents are anxious to get their kids back in school. They're also really concerned about their health.
And what about teachers? Because teachers they have a different set of concerns.
Teachers have a right to be very concerned. That's why we're working so closely with the teachers. We're working together with our local school boards to get their input. We got to keep them safe. We got to make sure that we go about this in a very careful way.
What do you need from the federal government? Because in Washington, D.C., we're staring down another battle of another round of economic stimulus. What do you need to see coming from Washington?
Well, so, as the chairman of the National Governors Association, we've been fighting and pushing since March to try to get some assistance from the federal government. We fought to try to get help to the state and local governments in the third stimulus package. Next week, when Congress comes back from their 4th of July recess, we're hoping, we've been pushing very hard to make sure that the state and local governments are included in that stimulus package, because it's critically important. We've already lost 1.5 million state and local government workers just in the past 60 days. It's anticipated we could lose as many as 4 million more, so we're talking about frontline healthcare workers and teachers and police and firefighters, people that we're out there providing more services under very difficult circumstances. And we're as impacted at the state and local government level as our businesses, because the revenues are down dramatically. Across the country, we're expecting a decrease in revenues to state governments of up to 30%.
1.5 million jobs already lost, and you just said 4 million jobs potentially could be lost, and that's for government workers alone.
Yeah, state and local government workers. And so we're working very hard. We've been pushing the administration, working with leaders in Congress on both sides of the aisle, in the House and the Senate. And we're hopeful that sometime by the end of July we're going to have some success and get some help, because states are making very difficult budget decisions and putting together their budgets and looking at dramatic reductions in staff.
And in many ways, a government job was seen as a safe job. So when you're talking to President Trump, when you're talking to Speaker Pelosi, what do you specifically want them to know?
I want them to know that not only as we're trying to have this economic recovery, the worst thing we could possibly do is to put more people on the unemployment lines, and to those folks that are actually trying to help the other people that are in need. So we need more money and not less money for local governments, and the federal government this is one thing that the states cannot do without the federal government.